I really thought that as a FNAF community, we were all on the same page. I thought we all agreed which games were good, which were bad, and which were mediocre. But I'm noticing something here, and it's quite concerning. I'm noticing that there are a lot of people who are putting Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location in the bad pile. And oh my goodness, does it just confuse me? It makes my blood boil. I don't even know what to think. So, today's video, we are going on a journey. You and I, we are going on a journey together. Whether you like Sister Location, whether you dislike Sister Location, we're going to go on a journey together, and I'm going to remind you why Sister Location was such a good game and why everyone should love it and it deserves that S tier spot. So get ready. You're going to get convinced. Let's do this together, and let's hop right in. Now, when it comes to the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location, there is nothing just as powerful. I think the only thing that might beat Sister Location as a whole might be the ending of Five Nights at Freddy's 6, but even then, it is a very, very close. I think Sister Location really is forgotten for the fact of what it reveals. It reveals the Afton family. Oh my goodness, can we just talk about that? The Afton family was really just a mystery beforehand. William Afton was mentioned in the novels, but remember, the games and the books can be used separately. Some of the characters in the books don't exist in the games. It is just a mess, but we do know that they are not really to be taken as the same. So William Afton being confirmed, the Afton family being confirmed, is actually crazy because I think it's really forgotten. Sister Location provided that major cornerstone of the franchise. The Afton family is one of the greatest things that's happened to the FNAF franchise because it is one of the main things of the FNAF franchise. We play as Michael Afton in Sister Location. Elizabeth Afton is Baby, which becomes part of Ennard, which later gets spit out of Ennard. We don't really know that whole confusion, but we do know that this family is a cornerstone, and it is revealed in Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location, so let's not forget about that major thing. Now, another major thing that I think is forgotten about the FNAF Sister Location lore is the fact that within Sister Location, with our battle with Ennard, which is the secret Ennard ending, you can type in a code and get the FNAF 4 house cameras. We can see the room which the crying child was in and other things about the house. So what does this mean? It could mean that the crying child is actually a son of Afton. We would have really never guessed this. We could have probably perceived it in Midnight Motorist, and that is an actual mini game that we get later on, but Sister Location was the first game to kind of tie back FNAF 4 and really piece the two stories together. We can actually now confirm that crying child is a son of Afton, and that's awesome. That's amazing because without that, we would be left in a mystery about the identity of the crying child. And now it's time to tackle the big elephant in the room. And the big elephant in the room is the fact that we understand that we are playing as Michael Afton. The reason why that's so big is because using Michael Afton as a kind of a character, we can actually think back and realize that Michael Afton might have been the main character in some of the other FNAF games, like FNAF 3, FNAF 2, and FNAF 1. We understand this because of that post-credit cutscene, and here I'll let it play.
Father, it's me, Michael. I did it. I found it. It was right where you said it would be. They were all there. They didn't recognize me at first, but then they thought I was you. And I found her. I put her back together, just like you asked me to. She's free now. But something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
But because of this post-credit cutscene, we can understand that Michael Afton was actually trying to chase his father around. He was trying to undo his sins. So, Sister Location gave us kind of a reason to believe that Michael Afton might have been the main character all along. He could have been the reason. I mean, think about it. Ennard is actually kind of his gut creature. As we know, Michael gets scooped. So Ennard takes over his body. Ennard gets spit out. And Michael Afton has like the odor. He becomes the purple guy, just not the William Afton purple guy. But perceiving it as that, we can now actually understand Michael Afton might have been the main character all along. Using some of the pink slips from the previous games, we understand Michael was a major character before we even knew who Michael was. We understand that Michael Afton could have been the one that burnt down the FNAF 3 location. We can tie Michael to actually FNAF 6. Using Sister Location and understanding Michael Afton, we now understand who he is and who was our main character all along. Now, with every elephant, there is a tail to the elephant, and the tail of the elephant in this case would have to be Ennard. Ennard is pretty cool because Ennard is multiple animatronics combined into one and their plot to escape. But Ennard also clarifies a lot, not just Ennard, the animatronics within. The animatronics within, we actually can find out that there were many body modifications. So, for example, there were storage tanks, there was voice modules that were able to lure children away by mimicking their parents, and also just understanding how to kind of isolate a child. These details actually clarified a lot about Mystery Mr. Afton. We were able to understand How did Mr. Afton get away with all these killings for so long, especially when sometimes he was actually banned from the FNAF locations, so we had to do his killings with unconventional methods. Ennard clears a lot of that up. Now, when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Locations gameplay, we are left with kind of a expanded version of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, I would say. Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location builds off the idea that you're kind of bound in one area, but the game dictates where. So, for example, while we're in the bedroom of Five Nights at Freddy's 4, we're not really allowed to choose where we go. We're kind of given 4 locations and that's it. We don't get to fully free roam the room. In Sister Location, we're given one facility, but that facility is kind of dictated for us as to where we can go. We can either go into Ballora Auditorium, we can go into Funtime Auditorium, we can go in the baby's room. It's kind of dictated where we go. We don't get full free roam support like in Security Breach, but that's fine. Sister Location lets us explore the facility, but we also get to interact with a ton of new animatronics. Funtime Freddy, Ballora, Funtime Foxy, Baby, and Ennard at one point. I mean, you could call the bonnet an animatronic, but it's literally just Funtime Freddy's hand, let's be honest here. Now, the low light of Sister Location, as of course being Ultimate Custom Night. Ultimate Custom Night came out actually after the game originally released. It was actually a little bit of a short span after, but Sister Location's Ultimate Custom Night was really, really lackluster. While I do love the experience that it provides, it's just not as good as the other Ultimate Custom Nights, and it gets really boring really fast. Like, I'm not kidding. It gets very repetitive. It's just not as fun. The oxygen mechanic and the power mechanic, while the power mechanic is nothing new, the oxygen mechanic was really hard to control. The Biddy Babs and the Electro Babs, the little mini arenas on your face, that just got really annoying super fast. And also, like, let's be honest, the most dangerous part of the Ultimate Custom Night was Yendo. Yendo was an animatronic that would appear in front of you, and you would just have to make sure not to pull the monitor up. Like, that in itself was probably the most dangerous part. Funtime Freddy and Ballora, their mechanics were super easy to understand, which isn't really a negative, but they just weren't as big of a threat as you would actually hope. I mean, think about it. A guy that just appears in your office, it's like Golden Freddy, but it just happens more common. That is the biggest threat that you have to deal with, just making sure you don't accidentally pull that monitor up. Wow, that's really underwhelming. Sister Location did also include the cutscenes of Michael Afton slowly turning into Purple Guy and kind of puking Ennard. It's just not that entertaining. I feel like Ultimate Custom Night was only created just to kind of provide that end cutscene and also provide those little cutscenes. I just don't feel that it was as awesome as it could have been. It didn't really capitalize. I just feel like when you take a game that you were experiencing in full immersive 3D and kind of putting it on that 2D level, it's not as fun and it doesn't relate as well. The mechanics don't match. It's not as fun. It's going to be a lot more difficult to narrow down. Ultimate Custom Night did miss the mark, but that doesn't discredit the rest of the game. Now, this is the part of the video where I try to tackle what some of these crazies were thinking when they actually said that they didn't like Sister Location. Some of the common complaints actually having to do with Sister Location have to do with the lore, and as I said earlier, that's really confusing because Sister Location just adds so much more depth to the story. When you're talking about the Aftons, Michael Afton, William Afton's before Springtrap life, understanding what he did to capture the children, I feel like Sister Location adds so much more to Five Nights at Freddy's than what it takes away. Now, another complaint that some people have left is that the game is too difficult, and this I can slightly understand. This I can accommodate because of the fact that the spring lock step where you're in that suit and you're having to press the little buttons, that can be really frustrating. But then again, it's just really time and repetition to really understand it. Nothing like the other Five Nights at Freddy's games. I mean, think about it. If you keep dying on night 4, you're going to keep playing night 4 until you get it down, and then you'll beat night 4 and go on to night 5. That's how the rest of Five Nights at Freddy's has worked on. I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location, for a majority, was actually pretty easy. The Ballora Gallery and the Funtime Auditorium were pretty easy. Funtime Freddy, while being scary at first, just playing the tapes and pressing the buttons, I don't feel it was as difficult as an experience as many people seem to complain about. I think they're just finding something to complain, and that's what they chose. Sister Location adds a lot more than it takes away, and that's a complaint that I don't think has any merit. Now it's time to talk about the lasting impact that Sister Location had. Sister Location had an impact in the sense of that it set a lot of precedents going forward. Think about it. Sister Location was kind of like a culmination of the last 4 games. It had the ambiance of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 3, and it also had that direct animatronic-induced fear like in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. And by that, I just mean the animatronics could talk to you and make noises. Wait, actually, Five Nights at Freddy's Sister Location was the first one where the animatronics could talk to you. And that's actually been a regular going forward. FNAF 6 and Ultimate Custom Night have had the ability to have the animatronics talk to you, which can also put you off. But like, look at Ultimate Custom Night. The animatronics talking makes the game more interesting and also provides massive lore drop. Security Breach has the animatronics talking, but I feel like that would have been irregular anyway. But Sister Location did it first. It also added that lore. It provided us with the Afton family and more background information to them, and they literally became like a saga. Like, you could call the first 7 games the FNAF saga. That's how powerful of a family it is, and we get more details about them in FNAF Sister Location. Sister Location set a precedent, it set a story, and it set us on the course that we now understand. Whether it's William Afton, Michael Afton, Crying Child, we're still talking about them to this day. I mean, think about it. MatPat and company are still theorizing that Elizabeth Afton is playing a major role in Security Breach. I'm telling you, Sister Location set it up, and we are now enjoying the fruits of that game. We will be enjoying it for the next few installments. Now, this is the part where I ask you, did I convince you? Did I give you a reason to believe that Sister Location is one of the better, if not one of the best, Five Nights at Freddy's games? And I'm telling you, it is one of the next steps that Five Nights at Freddy's took throughout its course. Security Breach is obviously the latest step in the sense of that it was a full 3D immersive free roam game, but Sister Location was one of the first next steps. It really elevated us from the first 4 games, which were kind of all the point and click horror, and brought us into the next era of FNAF, which included full, kind of like that free roam 3D visuals, voice acting. It really did bring a next level to the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and it's something that we're going to enjoy from now until Five Nights at Freddy's ends, if it ever ends. But I hope you enjoyed. I am a reasonable man. I will be glad to discuss with you in the comments down below. Tell me what I missed. Tell me what I got right. I hope you guys enjoyed. Here's the outro. I love you all.